Okay.
I think we're on 50. I marked 50.
This was turned over to 50.
If it was Hebrew, I'd remember it. No,
I know.
can't remember.
All right. Well, we're gonna start again from. We'll recap the beginning of chapter 12 anyway, because it's really all one idea. So we'll follow it through. Okay. So. All right, so going back to the beginning of chapter 12, which is on page 48 in the English, page Tes Zayin in the Hebrew. What we discussed last week was that the concept of Olam Haba, the world to come, is not a separate creation. It's not a world that was created like our world was created. Rather, it is the creation of our deeds. The things that we do make that world. So it's something that is constantly being built. It is all the result of our actions. It's not a separate entity. It's not a separate existence. And it is the effect of that which we do. And the culmination of that effect is where we end up after we leave this world. We go to that space. We go to where our deeds have manifested themselves, and that's the world we exist in. Now again, let's not try to think of this in physical terms, because it's not going to be accurate. But whatever this means, it's not just a representation of what we've done, but it's more the result of what we've done. To put this in a slightly, perhaps more accurate, but maybe not, perhaps a more accurate description of this is that everything that we do affects our neshama. So every good thing we do affects our neshama positively. Everything bad that we do affects our neshama negatively. So when we leave this world, what happens is our neshama continues to exist after it leaves the body. So the neshama is going to exist the way it left the world. So all of the positives are going to have left their mark on the neshama, and all the negatives will have left their mark on the neshama. And what you end up with is a neshama that hopefully has been significantly changed from the way it was when it first got here. And now it exists with those changes, which might be exactly what Reb Chaim is describing over here. This is the world, so to speak, that the neshama lives in, that the neshama exists in, may be nothing more than it itself. That might be it. That might be that world to come, is the existence of the neshama with all of the changes that it has gone through what it's done in this world. And in that sense, it's not like a physical space that you live in. It's just the existence, the experience of living, of existing on its own with all the things that it went through. So, just something to think about. Okay? Moving on? Okay. So, let's see. So we will start from where he switches tracks, which is when he starts talking about Gehenna. So in the English, that's on page 49, the bottom section. And in the Hebrew, it is on page Yud Zayin, the third paragraph. Okay, so v'chein einish haGehenna, and the same is really true when it comes to the punishment of Gehenna. And Yonei Gam Kain, the idea is also shehachet atzmai hu anshay, that the sin itself is the punishment. K'ma shekasa, as the pasuk says, Avaynoisav yilkedunai es harasha v'chavle chatasa yitamech. So the sins will trap the wicked, and he'll be ensnared in the chains or the ropes of his sin. Meaning, it's the sin itself that is the punishment. The sin itself is the pain. The sin itself is the Gehenna. It's not a separate thing. And your evil is what's going to cause you the pain. As we've explained, when a person does one of the commandments which we were told not to do, the ruin, the destruction, the impact of this happens immediately, and its source up in the spiritual world. Because of that, it's filled with destruction. The person, through these wrong actions, is strengthening and establishing the powers of Tumah and the Klipos, which are representations of Tumah in this world. Hashem should save us from this. So, meaning to say that we see from these verses that this sin is itself what is the repercussion. The sin is the pain. The sin is the chains that bind us in the world to come. So it's not, again, a separate entity. It's not a separate existence, but it is the sin itself that envelops the person, or the neshama, in the world to come. And from this also, a person draws upon themselves a spirit of tumah that surrounds him when he does a sin. And after he does it, the spirit goes back to its source where it came from. And then the person is living in Gehenna, in this world. It surrounds him as he does the sin. He just doesn't feel it. We don't recognize it. Until after we leave this world, at that point we are trapped in the net that we've set ourselves, and they are nothing less than, or nothing more than, the powers of tumah and damage that we ourselves have created through our deeds. So he's contrasting this with the good that we learned about last week. And we said that when a person decides to do something good, light comes down from Hashem, and that helps him complete this action and helps him do the good. And he says it works the other way too. When a person does something bad, there is this ruach hatumah, there is this spirit of impurity that comes down and is present for the duration of the sin, and then goes back up, and whatever damage it's going to cause happens immediately. Now the thing is that it's part of who we are, as we've explained, that it affects our neshama, and we're therefore living with this, the result of the things that we've done. We're living with it. We don't realize it. We don't recognize it. We don't see it. So it's there. It's surrounding our neshama. It's a spiritual force, and there's all this damage that's being done, and we don't recognize it. Sometimes you might get a little inkling of it, where you kind of have that feeling after you've done something wrong, and you feel it. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get the feeling of people, hopefully nobody here, but sometimes people get this sense of despair that I'm so bad, look at all the things I've done wrong. That's all a product of the fact that we are surrounded by the results of these actions. And they're affecting us. They're affecting us in a way that once in a while we actually can sense it and feel it. But generally speaking, we don't. Generally speaking, we are so oblivious to the spiritual that is going on within ourselves and around us that we don't even recognize it. And the truth will be revealed, meaning it'll hit us in the face the second we're no longer living in the physical world, and all of a sudden our neshama is entrapped in all these chains and nets and problems and pain because of all the things that we've done, and they're just going to be our existence. That's what we're going to be in. So it works the same way like it did with the good, that the things that we do have their spiritual effect, and our lack of seeing that while we're alive is not important, but we should realize that is how it works.
Will that last for as long as it takes to bring the neshama?
Okay, so how long does that last? So he doesn't really describe it much over here, but he has a Haggah. So we mentioned last week, I believe, that Reb Chaim wrote a number of little addendums to different parts of Nefesh Hachaim, and he does have a part on this section where he describes that there is a significant difference between the good that we do and the bad, and that the good that we do is permanent, and the bad that we've done is not necessarily permanent. And the bad that we've done can I shouldn't say always, but can be cleansed either through some form of purification process or through tshuva. And those each have the power to cleanse the neshama of those things. After you're dead, you cannot do tshuva. That is correct. I mean, well, mostly, yes, that's true. Right. So the reason I'm saying mostly is because there is I believe it's a Zohar, that describes that the moment of death, when the neshama separates from the body, it has a moment to regret before any kind of judgment or anything happens. And during that moment of death, when it has the recognition of the truth, it has an opportunity to accomplish some form of tshuva. It's not complete, but it can accomplish some degree of tshuva. But that's just during the moment of death. But other than that, yes, generally speaking, tshuva is only something we can do while we're alive. And certainly somebody who is not in tune or in line with doing tshuva during their lifetime is not going to all of a sudden become that way the moment they die. So it's certainly something to take advantage of while we can. Yes.
So what are we supposed to think of when that moment? What is the goal?
You're not in control at that point.
You're not in control.
You're a product of your lifetime at that point. So if your lifetime has been one of striving where possible to connect with Hashem and to avoid what's wrong and to do what's right, then at that point, hopefully, your neshama will have been trained to the point that it will be able to do that at a greater degree when it's no longer connected to the body and sees the truth of reality. But it's not something, as far as I understand it anyway, it's not something that you have like a conscious mind to control. Okay. So, that is the system. So now he's going to bring some sources for this. Yeah.
Can this, I don't know, can it last more than 11 months? Like I thought.
So the Gemara tells us that the longest sentencing in Gehenna is 12 months. That's the longest sentencing. What exactly that means, I don't know. I don't know what that means exactly. But on a simple level, it seems to mean that at that point, it's going to last. At that point, anything that a person has done will be able to be cleansed by existing with all of that pain for that amount of time, will likely get rid of anything that would have been done wrong over the course of the lifetime. That's presumably what it means. The reason we say Kaddish for 11 months is because we don't want to ever think about whoever it is we're saying Kaddish for, that they are the worst of the worst, and they need the full 12 months. So that's how we only do 11. But simply understood, that's what it means. It means that by then, no matter how much wrong a person has done, the amount of difficulties and pain they will experience will be enough to cleanse it by that time. That's the simple understanding.
So there is a time, like I'm saying, like it's related to this world's time.
Right. How that connects to time in this world, well, there's no time over there, I don't know. I don't know how that works. Okay. Okay, we're good? What do you mean? What's wrong? What? That's not a question, sorry.
No, it just scares the living daylights out of me.
Well, that's good. That's good. That should encourage you to do tshuva every day.
And we get cleansed every Yom Kippur, right?
We can. Yeah, we can.
And so it's interesting. So they're talking about this with like the sin. So if you like, we're not totally perfect people. people, right? So it's,
Well, speak for yourself.
I'm not a perfect person. So.
All right, me and you, we'll be in the same club.
So, I'm not gonna have all good deeds, but I'm not gonna be all, sin
Right,
either,
right,
hopefully.
right.
So that when they're talking about the sins and wrapping itself around you and everything, it's like, it's almost like there's an accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changing constantly, right?
Yep.
Like, just computing and computing, so you're going up and down, or hopefully up and up, but, so, how is that, is it wrapping itself around, then undoing, then partly?
Okay, so,
You know what I'm saying?
okay, yes, I get what you're saying.
That's a
So,
really great question.
basically, the idea is that everything we do affects our neshama. Okay? So, let's say, for example, you have somebody who's working on their physical fitness. Simple example, okay? So, they're going to go to the gym, okay? And let's say in their fitness scale, they'll gain 10 points for going to the gym, okay? Then they're going to go and eat a corn dog. Okay? So then they're going to lose 10 points for the corn dog, right? So both things exist, right? So they're both there. They've both affected the person. And he's going to have the muscle gained from the gym, and he'll have the fat gained from the corn dog. And they don't cancel each other out. They're just both part of who you are now. They're both part of your physique. Is now the corn dog's over there, right? And the muscle's over there. What?
Is it a strong fat man?
That's right, exactly. The strongest people in the world have got a lot of fat on them, right? It's part of how it goes. But I'm just saying, they don't cancel each other out. So yes, we will have the negative effects of the sins, and we'll also have the positive effects of the mitzvahs. They'll both be present. They're both part of who we are. They make up the totality of who we are. So, but like we said, the sin is cleansable. It's more like a stain. In other words, it's a defect that can be cleansed, that can be fixed. And tshuva can do that, and the hardships and difficulties in life, those things can do that. And then after we're done in this world, if there's still more that needs to be cleansed, that will take place in Gehenna, which is what he's describing, which is, again, it's the experience of having these self-inflicted wounds on us. But the wounds will heal. We live with that pain, the pain goes away over time, it heals. So that is what you're left with by the time it's done, is a cleansed neshama that has grown X amount, and if that's sufficient, then we're done. That we wait for Mashiach, right? If it's not sufficient, you might need to come back down and do it again, or you might need your kids to do it for you, et cetera, et cetera. That's where all those other calculations come in. But as far as the things that we've done wrong, we have an opportunity to cleanse ourselves before it's too late, and then once it's too late, it'll get cleansed on its own. Okay? Okay. What else? Okay?
I'm thinking corn dog for lunch.
Corn dog. I'm glad you're paying attention.
I'm thinking Jim.
You guys got all the important points.
Rabbi,
Yes.
how does that work for somebody who's, let's say, a Russian Marusha like Titus or Sancherev, or for somebody who, I don't want to call a Russian Marusha, but Korach, where they say he's still saying Moshe Emes? Is that a different category? Here we're talking about like a head yoke, for lack of a better word?
All right. So let's understand that this is all in general. There are exceptions. There are people who can do things that will earn them permanent problem. Well, kind of hard to know exactly what everything means. But the Rambam gives a list of people. It's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, and Chelek goes through. There are people who can do things that will have perpetual consequences. So even though they may have been able to take care of one thing that they've done, what they've done has a lasting effect, and therefore will constantly be affecting their neshama, and therefore they'll never really have an opportunity to get out of it. Those are very few people throughout history. There's a handful of people throughout the entire history of the world who have been in that category. So they're their own category. That's not really what is anything any of us need to worry about. Let's put it that way. Okay. All right. So let's continue here. V'zeu she'amru Chazal. This is what our sages have taught us in Eruvin. Rishoyim mamikim lehem Gehenim. Rishoyim, Gehenim is deepened for them. So typically that's understood as, for the wicked people, Gehenim is dug very deep. But return to Lamer, what this really means to say is, Shehin atzmam hamamikim la'atzmam Gehenna. They themselves are deepening Gehenna for themselves. Umarchivan, I say, and they're widening it. They are making their own Gehenna. Umav'irin oiseh b'chatayim. They are causing it to burn through their sins. Kamashikatz, what the pasuk says, Hen kulchem kaidchei eish. You're all those who ignite fires. L'chu bu'ur eshchem. Go in the flame of your fires. Ubezikos bi'artem, and the sparks that you've caused to burn, that you've ignited. Miyadi ha'isas ha'isachem. From my hand, this has come to you. Meaning to say that it's the fires that we ourselves light that burns us. That's how it works. The things that we do wrong, those are the things that keep us in the world to come. That's going to be part of who we are and part of that experience in the world to come. So it's not that, like the world to come on the good side, we understand now, it's not a separate existence. But it's the products of what we've done. It's the same thing on the negative, the same thing in Gehenna. It's not something that has its own space, so to speak. It's just the products of what we've done and how it affects our neshamas, and that is the experience we are going to have in the world to come. Okay? All right. All right. Okay, let's skip this next part here. Okay. Zesh Amar Akaso, and this is what the pasuk means. Let me see if this is still in the English. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so in the last, we're on page 50 now in the English, this concept. In the Hebrew, I just skipped to the bottom paragraph on Yud Zayin. Zesh Amar Akaso, this is what the pasuk means when it says in Eiv, Ki payal Adam yishalim lai. The action of the man will be paid back to him. What does this mean? So based on what we're saying, it's very clear. Sha'pa'ula atzma, the action itself, hatoy v'hi imra, whether it's bad or good, chas v'shalom, he atzma tashlumin shalai kanal. That itself is the repayment for the person. It's the action itself. It's not something in reward or in return for what we've done. It is what we've done. That itself is the existence of the world to come. And then, yes.
Also be like almost, for lack of a better word, like a play on word shalom, like shalem. Like it completes him, it makes him who he is. But you also, I'm just throwing that out there because I'm looking at the wording. Like his own function, or is that a stretch?
No, I don't think it's a stretch. I don't think it's a stretch. I don't think that's a simple reading, but I don't think it's a stretch. I think that's acceptable. If you were in my class, I'd probably give that a B+. I'm joking. Okay, so now this next line here, I do think there's a slight mistranslation in the English over here. I think it's a bit of an oversight. And it's a very important point that he's making. So he says, and this is what I said to say in Pirkei Avos. Sheschar mitzvah mitzvah, u'schar avera avera. The reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah, and the reward for a sin, the consequence of a sin, is a sin. Now, normally that's understood as you do one mitzvah, it leads to another, right? So if you do a mitzvah, so Hashem rewards you with an opportunity to do another, and that's the way he translates it over here in the English. I don't think that's how Reb Chaim is understanding it. Reb Chaim's understanding it is that the reward for a mitzvah is that mitzvah itself. That is the reward, because that is the existence that you have in the world to come. The consequence of a sin is the sin, because the sin itself is what's going to be around you. It's going to become who you are in the world to come. So I believe that's what what? Yeah, I believe that's what is being said over here, and I think that this is just a
Mitzvah gereris mitzvah is a different concept.
well, according to
Polishing a mitzvah.
yes, but
This whole thing is that it's each thing is its own thing.
yeah. Just that the way he translates it here is the word of mitzvah is another mitzvah. I don't think that's what Reb Chaim means. I think what Reb Chaim means is that the word of the mitzvah is that mitzvah itself, not another mitzvah, but it is the mitzvah. Okay, now Zeu Shekasav, and that's what the pasuk means when it says Ki es kol ma'aseh yavi b'mishpat. all of the actions will be brought in judgment. What this means is, ha'maisa atzma, the action itself is what's brought to judgment. It stands as is with all the impacts that it made, as we've explained. That is the judgment. The judgment is, the actions are right there. It's part of who you are. It is your neshama. That is the product of all the things that you've done right and all the things that you've done wrong. So that itself is the judgment. It's not that there's like a recording and then there's an accounting. It's none of that. It's just you. That's the judgment. We just see you. Hashem looks at you and says, "Oh, this is you," right? And you see all the good, all the positive effect that all the good things you've done in your life, and all the negative, all the bad that you've done in your life. And then Hashem judges based on that. Okay, so now where exactly the judgment is? That's where we're going to get into now for a second. He says, I don't even know if this is in the. Is this in the English? Hold on. No, I don't believe this is in the English. Yeah, this next part is not in the English, but we're going to go through it anyway. So, he continues and says, therefore our sages tell us in Baba Kama that anyone who says that Hashem overlooks, his life will be overlooked. Now, it's in the Yerushalmi, Bereshit Rabbah, it's in the Medrash, Tanchuma, other Medrash, Shecher Tov, another Medrash. It's everywhere. Okay, this is a very common theme. And this seems to be very difficult to understand. Even a man, even a person who has some sense of chesed in them, we can overlook things. So certainly Hashem, who is the source of chesed, can certainly overlook things. What does this mean? Why would we say that it's a bad thing? I'm sorry?
I never understood it as literal as he's taking it.
Well, that's what he's asking. It needs to be explained. To understand it literally is difficult. That's his point. Right? So to say that Hashem can't overlook things is very difficult because that seems to be a basic tenet of being a good person, is that you know how to overlook misdeeds that other people have. You can overlook things. Why is that viewed as a bad thing that someone who is overlooked, his life will be overlooked? So he explains what it means as follows. The way it works is like this. As we explain. It's not about the let me rephrase this. The outcome of the things that we've done, the results of the things that we've done, are not punishments. They're not there to punish us. Hashem doesn't give us a pain as a punishment. I'm sorry, I skipped a line here. It's not a way of Hashem getting revenge or punishment for us. It's that the sins run after the wicked, meaning the sin itself is the punishment. It's not that Hashem is doing something to punish us. It's that when we sin, that is the punishment. That affects us, that changes us, and that ruins our neshama. That is the punishment. Because from the moment of creation, Hashem set up all the systems for all the worlds. That everything should be dependent on the way we do things. Hatayvim, whether they're good, if they're bad, everything that a person does makes its own impact. It's automatically impactful. It's on its own. Everything's sourced and it's sourced in the higher worlds. So everything that I do has its effect throughout the entire system, all the way up to the highest sources. So you're automatically surrounded by and affected by and judged by the powers of impurity and damage that you've created on your own. Based on the amount of damage you've done, that's the life you're going to live in the world to come. That's what you have. You're left with that. It's just the product of what you've done. And through that, there will automatically be a correction of all these worlds. Because living with that pain of the things that we've done itself is going to cleanse them. And therefore what you end up with is everything that everyone's done is getting cleansed, and ultimately you have a perfection. because all the worlds are being cleansed through the pain that we're experiencing, and that is what rectifies all the worlds. So
what does he mean by Yivasru Chayav?
okay, so hold on. We're going to finish. We're not done yet. The other option is through tshuva. Shemagas ad sharash halayim, because tshuva has been given the ability to reach up to the highest source, the root of all the roots. Olam tshuva, which is the world of tshuva. I don't know exactly what that world is, but whatever it is, there is that place. Alma dechir nehir the kula. It's the place that everything is able to be corrected. And through that tshuva, a person is able to not only cleanse themselves of the things that they have done wrong, but they can even get extra light and extra positive influence and extra kedusha and the extra light that shines lahasem lachalis kol tuma, that will able to be it will consume and complete and destroy all of the tuma l'sakan elamas kimikaydem, and be able to rectify all of the worlds and all of the damage that was done. And there will be on top of that an extra light that will be able to shine on the people who do tshuva and give them all this extra goodness in addition to correcting all of the damage that was done. So these are the two options. So based on this, it doesn't apply. It's not applicable to talk about overlooking something. It simply doesn't make any sense. There's nothing to overlook. It's done. You've done it to yourself. You can't say, well, someone broke their finger, well, I'll just overlook that. What do you mean? It's broken. There's nothing to overlook. It's something that you've done. It's part of who you are. It's an existence. It's not something that Hashem can say, well, I'll overlook that. It already changed you. It already made you who you are. And the same is true, obviously, on the good side. And Zeu Sha'amr Ba'avas, this is what it says in Pirkei Avos, V'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nechtavin. All of your deeds are written in the book. What this means is that on their own, just automatically by their existence, they are causing their influence, their effects in the upper worlds. So meaning to say that the concept of Hashem overlooking deeds makes it seem as if there's me, and then there's the things that I do, and Hashem takes the things that I do, and based on that judges me. It's not the system. It's not how it works. Me and the things that I do are one. I am the things that I do. So those things are constantly adding, subtracting, building, destroying. Everything that I do is affecting me and my neshama, and through that all of the whole pipeline all the way up. And those things are not subject to being overlooked. It's the result. It's what happens. So if somebody says Hashem can overlook things, that means they've missed the point. That means they don't understand how Hashem works. They don't understand how the things that we do work. The things work by changing us, by affecting us, by surrounding us, by becoming who we are. And that is something that we have the opportunity to fix if it's something wrong, and it's permanent if it's something right. And if we don't deal with it, then it will be dealt with eventually as the neshama is cleansed of all of that in the world to come. Okay, how's that? Which words?
Oh, the words of the Gemara.
Which ones?
Rashi's pshat in the Gemara is simple and it makes sense to me, but this is a little deeper, and I don't see how it reads so well.
Okay.
Rashi's pshat is simple. If you say this is going to happen, you're going to end up doing chatay, because you think HaKadosh Baruch Hu is just going to wipe it clean, so you're not fearful of the end.
Okay.
Which is not, he's not saying it's not that.
Correct.
He's just saying.
It's much deeper than that.
He's saying that.
That plus.
Well, what's the Yivasru Chayav, L'chaira? It should be Yivasru Masa. In other words, well, maybe it's the same thing. But I'm saying, like, it's one thing, like.
If you're going to look at life, that Hashem is going to overlook your deeds, that means you're not understanding that it's affecting you. And you're going to end up ruining your life.
That's Rashi's.
No, that's his pshat. And Rashi, that's what I'm saying. It's one and the same. If a person goes through life thinking, well, there's me, and then there's the things that I've done, and the things that I've done can be dealt with separately from me, then they're going to just keep doing those things because I can fix that. They don't realize that it's affecting who they are. So therefore, they're never going to deal with it. And that's how their life is going to be overlooked, so to speak, meaning they're overlooking their own lives. They're not realizing that this is affecting their life. It's affecting themselves. Every time I do something bad, it's affecting me. And if I don't recognize that, then I'm overlooking my own life. It's like somebody who's not eating healthy. Well, the doctor's going to tell him, look, you're killing yourself. If you would do X, Y, and Z instead, you'd be a healthier person. The person who doesn't listen to the doctor is killing themselves because they're doing what's bad for them without realizing it, or realizing it and not caring. So that's what we're saying over here. He's saying that if a person doesn't realize that the things that they do affect him, affect his neshama, then he's giving up his own life because he's not rectifying the things that need rectifying. He's not recognizing that these things are affecting him. I think it works perfectly in line with Rashi. I don't think it's at all a contradiction. Think about it. All right, good plan. All right, very good. We'll stop here, and we will continue with chapter 13, Nefesh Hachaim, next week. All right, have a good one.